guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. By the way, everyone, happy Halloween. It is October 31st, and it is great to be with you here on Inspirations for Your Life. Do check out my hat, believemeachieve.com, more of my amazing, inspiring creations. All right. You know our master topic for the week, which ends today, understanding the power of good deeds. We're on basically Series 3, Show 44. We'll get into what the granular topic is in just a moment. But this is that perfect opportunity for you to go steal over to the kitchen and get yourself some Halloween candy, some sweets, maybe a delicious beverage that's icy cold, or one that's nice and warm, like a hot chocolate, or a cup of tea, or maybe just some water, whatever you like, or maybe some healthy fruit. Either way, go grab that, and we'll start the show here in just a second. So welcome, everyone, to the Inspirations for Your Life podcast, hosted by myself, John C. Morley. In today's episode, I'm going to dive deep into the powerful world of encouragement and motivation. A toolkit designed to elevate leadership, inspire your team, and of course, unlock untapped potential. From understanding the essence of true encouragement to the art of setting realistic, achievable goals, we're exploring every key technique that transforms how you approach success. Together, we'll uncover practical strategies to uplift those around you and cultivate a thriving environment where everyone is motivated to bring their best self. So let's make encouragement a daily practice that fuels our creativity, resilience, and growth. Hurry back from that fridge, everyone, because we want to get the show started, don't we? Yes, we do. We want to kick off the show. I hope you guys had a wonderful Halloween. By the way, next year Halloween is going to fall on a Friday, which means you'll be able to have a nice long weekend with that. So I know a lot of people like to do trunk or treats over the weekend, so that'll work really, really well. All right, guys, welcome everyone. So let's get started here. Understanding encouragement, discovering what it truly means to encourage someone. It's more than just support. It's about empowering others to take on new challenges with confidence. Henry Ford said something a very long time ago. If you believe you can't, you're right. And I believe you can, you're also right. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of people don't realize that your belief actually makes something happen or not happen. That's really key, everyone. So like I said, it's more than just support. It's empowerment. So you might be saying to me, hey, John, I don't know what that big word means. So we're going to go off to Merriam-Webster, and we're going to get you an exact definition of that word, because I think this might be, getting a few people a little challenged. So the word empowerment is a noun. It's the act or action of empowering. So if we jump over to the word empowering, which is a verb, it's to give official authority or legal power to. It is to promote the self-actualization of influence. So now that you have an understanding of what empowerment is something a lot of people live for. All right, importance of positive reinforcement. Learn why small gestures of praise, could be something as simple as, hey, you did a great job, or thank you, really helps to elevate that person. And what it does is it's positive reinforcement that strengthens confidence and builds momentum toward longer-term promises and goals. And when you're doing this and maybe you don't know the person very well, it's like you start to build a trust with that person. You don't know how it started, but all you know is you had this sincere desire to let them know how they're doing, and they really eat that up, and they will become attached to you. So setting clear, achievable promises or goals is important. Motivation grows when goals are clear and, of course, attainable. Now, understanding how this works might be an enigma to some people, but thinking about a promise or a goal is all about taking yourself from where you are now to where you want to go. Now, you might say, John, I want to get X dollars, or I want to build this house, but there's steps in between that. So you need to achieve those smaller milestones before you can achieve the bigger milestone. Does that make sense to everyone? I hope it does. So that's very important that you understand that. And I think it's important you understand that. And maybe you don't quite understand, what that means, but I'm here to tell you that it means a lot. And that might be challenging for some people. I know that a lot of people out there want to be empowered. I know a lot of people out there, want to achieve goals and promises, but they get stuck along the way. And it's okay to get a little stuck, but you have to sometimes figure out how to get unstuck. Maybe you need to look at something a different way. Maybe you need to approach some outside help. It could be friends, could be professional help, whatever it is. Figure out what that is and get it, and then move yourself forward one step. I'm going to give you an example. So, been a Toastmaster for a long time. I'm not doing that anymore, but I did Toastmasters back when I was just out of college, and I was an officer, vice president. I was a person that also was a treasurer at one time first. Then I became an area governor. So it was a really cool thing. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is you can get stuck. So here I was doing my project, and then there was one piece that I was getting stuck over. Now, it wasn't that I didn't know how to present. It wasn't that I didn't know, um, let's say, how to inspire people or how to do that. What it came down to was the requirements of Toastmasters. And so I talked to someone else that did it, someone that didn't have as much speaking experience as me, but they understood the logistics of Toastmasters. After talking with them, they're like, "Oh, John, you can just break this down like this and break this down like this." And what they had me do is they had me break it down into small chunks. But first, I had to understand what they wanted. And Toastmasters is always changing their rules and how they do things. All right. So, coming from a point of view of having a growth mindset is paramount. Embracing the idea that growth is a journey and setbacks are nothing more than opportunities. And so, if we explore our mind and we know that challenges are going to appear in our lives, how we rise to those challenges and how we, let's say, are able to take that challenge and really crush it helps us to want to set even more loftier promises and goals for ourselves. So I think that's important. It's a mindset. Offering support without judgment is another thing. So many people I know, they'll give support, but they have to judge. Well, I'll help you, but the way you're doing it right now isn't something I'm crazy about. So you're going to have to change your belief on this, and that's not right. So encouragement means supporting others through the ups and downs. It doesn't mean supporting others when you only have no judgment against them. So knowing that support is a pillar, okay? And the road can get bumpy. You know, Sometimes one of the loneliest roads to travel is the road on your own. Now, I don't get into religion a lot, but you guys know that I am Roman Catholic, and I want to read for you, and I've read this before. Uh, it's a famous poem. You guys may know the poem, and I think I've read it before. And the reason I want to bring it up now is I think a lot of people don't really get the meaning of this poem. So this poem is something that's been around for quite a long time, and I'm actually going to read it to you right now. It's short. It's not terribly long, but I can tell you that this is something that I hope will empower you. Okay, empower you to change. And maybe you're saying, John, I don't know how to change. Okay. Well, you can change. Okay. You can change. And so sometimes we just need an example. We need somebody to be that, whatever it is, to be that guiding light, right? So the poem that I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, it's called Footprints. Okay. And maybe you're probably saying to me, hey, John, like, that's cool, but how does it work? Well, let me read it to you. So I said to the Lord, you promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I've noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there have only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I need you most, you have not been there for me? And so this really hurts a lot of people. And so here is the exact poem that's been out since like 1984. Okay, and there are a few variations of it. The first version is one night I dreamed. I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from my life flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there were two sets of footprints. Other times, there were one set of footprints. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, or defeat, I could only see one set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, you promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I've noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there have only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, you've not been there for me? The Lord replied, the times when you have seen only one set of footprints in the sand is when I carried you. Now, here is another version of the same poem. One night, a man had a dream. He dreamed he was walking along the beach with the Lord across the sky. Flash scenes from his life. From each scene, he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to him and the other to the Lord. When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. He noticed that many times along the path of his life, there was only one set of footprints. He also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times in his life. This really bothered him, and he questioned the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I've noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there's only one set of footprints. I don't understand why when I needed you most, you would leave me. The Lord replied, my son, my precious child, I love you and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. And this was by Mary Stevenson, who wrote that version. And the thing that I want you guys to realize is that sometimes we miss the entire forest because we're so focused on the trees. And this is a perfect example of that. Now, whether you're religious or not, I think it's important to know that sometimes when we're going to be judgmental, we never should be. When something seems like it shouldn't be that way, there might actually be a reason why. And that reason might be because there's a strong amount of compassion. I love the poem Footprints. It's absolutely amazing. So offer support without judgment, right? Encourage. Build connections, ladies and gentlemen, and really cultivate community. People thrive in a supportive network. Understanding the power of building a community and motivating, inspiring others is not something you're going to get in one night. But when you choose to build a community for the right reasons, you have God's favor or you have the blessings upon you. So there was a situation the other day. I'm not going to give you the whole situation because it's a private situation about something I was doing to help somebody. And so I was calling this place, and normally I always unblock my number if I'm calling somebody that I want to know my number. So I called, and my number by default is blocked. So just as I just said, oh, I unblocked my number, he's probably not going to pick up. And I talked to this wonderful gentleman, and he picked up. He says, "I'm so glad I answered." He says, "I normally don't answer the phone because it was a blocked number." He said, "But Spirit told me to answer it, and I did." And that was so moving for me to hear that. Celebrating effort, not just results. So the journey is just as important as the destination. Understanding, recognizing efforts of fuels and long-term motivation, they can be challenging. I know. And sometimes people feel that you don't deserve to celebrate if you put effort in and there's no results. Well, I beg to differ. If you put effort in or people put effort in, even if you don't get the results, you should still celebrate for what you did. You learned. Okay? And consistency and encouragement is another point. Motivation can be fleeting. I know. You might get it one moment, and the next moment it just kind of goes away. So being consistent and encouraging to yourself and others is key. But what I want to share with you is I released a short or two just today, and I was talking all about a very unique topic. This topic was something that you probably wouldn't expect. I was talking about prejudice. And I'm not going to rehash the whole point, but I started out because I remembered this commercial of a grandfather. And again, I'm not going to redo the whole thing again because that was last night's show. But my point is that something drew me back to tell that story. And when I think about that story and I think about the music I put with it and the fact that it touched some people's lives, but not a lot. Quite a few hundred people watched it, but a lot of people didn't like it. You know why? Because they themselves, without judging here, are like that. And they can't agree with something that talks about being prejudiced when they themselves are prejudiced. So we always have to set a positive example, right? Actions always speak louder than words. And if you don't speak, remember what you do or don't do sets the premise. So lead by example to inspire those around you to strive for their best. You might have heard something a long time ago. Please do not lead. I may not follow. If you follow, I may not lead. But if you walk beside me, I'll be sure to walk along. And so that was very meaningful to me because we have leaders and we have followers, but we don't have a lot of people that want to walk side by side, that want to help each other for the purposes of that. And recognizing the role of yourself and the encouragement you can give yourself and others is important. Self-affirmation is a powerful tool. Learning how to cultivate inner motivation that can sustain you through any challenge, that's the key. You see, we're going to get ups, we're going to get downs. It's going to happen. It's not if they happen, but how you as a person decide to respond to those situations and circumstances. Do you embrace them? Or do you say, oh, why is this happening to me? I'm going to give you a perfect example. Maybe you've had a situation in your life where maybe you couldn't put food on the table. When you were younger, maybe you were in college, maybe after you left your parents and you didn't want to ask them for money. And you couldn't put food on the table yourself for whatever reason. And so you had something, but it wasn't what you really wanted. And the most important thing was to give thanks, to give gratitude for the meal you have. Maybe it was just water and some crackers. Maybe it was peanut butter. Maybe it was just some mints. And when you have those situations, I will tell you that it's in those times that how you choose to respond defines your character and also shapes you in how successful you're going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always such a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys every single day and evening whenever I'm on show or any type of long form or short form content. And I hope that through these messages I'm sharing with you tonight and through all the other times I broadcast stuff, either live or short form or long form content, I hope that these messages resonate inside your heart. And they help you to, I don't want to say criticize, but reflect on who you are and allow you to make a change, not because of someone else, but because you want to make that change. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. I'm going to catch you tomorrow. I hope you had a wonderful Halloween. Don't eat too much Halloween candy. Does everyone know, before I go, when was the very first Halloween and where? I always have trivia on the show, don't I? So when was the very first Halloween and where? If I had to ask, does anybody know when and where was the first Halloween? Does anybody want to take a guess at that? So Halloween originated in the ancient Ireland area in the United Kingdom and northern France. It was a celebration of Celtic festival of Samhain, which was held on October 31st. And so the Celts celebrated Samhain in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France. Samhain marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of winter, a time associated with death. The Celts believed that the boundary between the living and the dead was thin on Samhain, and that ghosts could return to Earth. They celebrated by lighting bonfires, burning crops and animals as sacrifices, wearing costumes, and attempting to tell fortunes. Halloween was also developed from Christian feasts of the dead, such as All Saints' Day on November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd. By the 9th century, October 31st was celebrated as All Hallows' Eve, which eventually became Halloween. The first official citywide Halloween celebration in the United States was Anoka, Minnesota in 1921. So again, the origins of Halloween transcended way back to the customs linked to the Gaelic festival, Samhain, and one of the quarter days in the medieval Gaelic calendar, and has been celebrated on the 31st of October through the 1st of November in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. So I think it's pretty interesting how we still have that. Now, you might be asking, so this is a good question. Somebody just asked me, where did the idea of trick or treat come from for Halloween? Well, that's a little more far-fetched, but I'll try to help you with that too. It's suggested that a trick or treating evolved from a tradition whereby people impersonated the spirits or souls of the dead and received offerings on their behalf, suggesting that they personify the old spirits of the winter who demanded reward in exchange for good fortune. So to ward off evil spirits, community members wore scary masks and costumes, and evidence of the trick-or-treating was seen in England when children would go to affluent homes and pray for the soul of the homeowner's deceased relatives in exchange for pastries. Let me say that again. Basically, the children would go to affluent homes and pray for the soul of the homeowner's deceased relatives in exchange for pastries. That's pretty neat. So the annual tradition began in the 1990s by church organizations. They call it trunk or treat, and associated with groups as a fall festival for alternative trick-or-treating In churches, it was supposed to be safer and they could control it and things like that. And it was created as a result of discomfort with some Halloween's names and stuff like that. So you might still be asking, why do we hand out candy? So the practice of giving out candy during Halloween can be traced back to the ancient celebrations such as Samhain's Celtic Festival. During Samhain's, people would light bonfires and offer food to wandering spirits in attempt to appease them and ward off evil. So now you know a little more about Halloween. Again, happy Halloween to everyone. Don't eat too much chocolate. And I'll see you guys. Well, actually, we have one more. Actually, we have another day. This is actually, I was thinking we're on Friday. We have another day left. This is Thursday. So we have a whole other episode left, which is tomorrow. And I think this will be pretty cool, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really cool. So hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll catch you real soon. Take care, everyone.